I bought every single powerlifting bleach lightener that Sally's Beauties carries, so you don't have to, and we're gonna test them back to back to see which one is the best. Now, after posting the first bleach videos, I got tons of comments asking why not try out the Sally's bleach lighteners, and this is for all you DIYers out there who love bleaching your own hair. So I'm really excited to put these lighteners to the test because the last time I used these was probably about 20 years ago. And we're also going to be watching out for some integrity here because these are some, I think, aggressive bleaches. So stick around to the very end and find out which one is worth the buck. And if you're new here, my name is Morella Manelli. I'm a hair educator who loves helping hairstylists simplify their skills in business. And if you like videos like these, make sure you like and hit that subscribe button and share this video with a hair friend. And if you missed the other 3 lightener videos where I tested all of the professional hair bleaches, SalonCentric and Cosmoprof, make sure you check out those videos down below in the description, or you can check out this one right here. I purchased all of the powerlifting bleach lighteners that Sally's Beauty carries that claim to have 7 to 8 or even 9+ levels of lift. And I also purchased the corresponding developer to go with it, whether that was 20, 25, or even 40 volume developer. So if it came in a kit, that's what we're gonna test it out with. But overall, I like testing with 20 volume because that's the best way that we're gonna maintain the integrity of the hair while we're lifting. Now, the whole purpose of this video is to see if professional lighteners are superior to the Sally's brands, or are we conditioned to think that all over-the-counter stuff is really bad? Wait to the very end to see for yourself. So now let's go and see what's inside this bag. So first up, we have the Color Charm Wella Powder Lightener. I literally have not used this in forever. The Bright White Powder from Ion. Quick Blue, like what person has not used this? This is like OG hair school, beauty school, like bleach. Can't wait to try this one. Generic Value Products Powder Lightener. The L'Oreal Super Oil Blanc. Okay, this one looks really interesting. This is the new Ultra Serum, no wait, what is this called? Lightning Fast 40 Volume Bleach Kit. SalonCare Blue Flash Powder Lightener. Oh, Quick Blue. We've all used Quick Blue. I feel like Quick White, because I feel like we've all used Quick Blue and Quick White at some point in our careers. Like, and if you haven't tried these, please let me know down below in the comments. If you're a hairstylist and you've never tried it, I'm gonna be shocked. And then Ageful Ultra Blonde Powder Lightener, I think that's what it's called. Up to 9 levels of lift, we shall see. And Blonde Brilliance. This has a little kit. I'm kind of like intrigued by this little spoolie here. Not sure what that's for. And then, oh, BW2. This is another OG2. Now, if your lightener has not been tested in any of these videos and you would like me to put it to the test on a level 2 swatch, make sure you let me know down below in the comments. Now, first up is the Color Charm Powder Lightener from Wella, and this retails for $5.99 for a 1.1 ounce little sachet. Now, this lightener claims to have up to 7 levels of lift, and I have used this, like I mentioned, decades ago, so I'm really excited to give this one a go. The features and benefits for this one is that it claims to have protecting oil system to help lock in moisture, provide up to that 7 levels of lift. It's excellent for highlights with foils or balayage techniques, full head highlighting, regrowth, applications, and color correction, and it's a dust-free formula. Now, I went ahead and grabbed the 20 volume developer, but the best way to mix up this lightener is for off scalp, do 1 part of your lightener to 1.5 parts of your developer. And if you do on scalp, you're gonna wanna do 1 part powder to 2 parts of your developer. So today we're gonna be mixing the off scalp mixing ratio, which is 1 part lightener to 1.5 parts of your developer. And you're not gonna wanna exceed this past 50 minutes. All right, so we are gonna do a sniff test. Not really sniffing it, we're just smelling it a little bit. It's been seriously a long time since I tried this. We'll see if it smells the same, like if it brings back those memories. Okay, I don't smell anything. Don't smell anything. So let's see how dusty dust this is. So now let's see if this truly is dust free. You know what, we're just gonna do the whole contents. Yeah, I can't say it's dusty, and I can see why it's not dusty. It kind of has like this cloud effect on how it dispenses. And I don't know, I kind of like the texture of this. I'm not mad about it. It's definitely like a little powdered sugar. So my scale is measuring 32 grams and this says 31.2 grams. So pretty dead on right there. So since I have 32 grams of lightener in my bowl, I'm gonna go ahead and put in 48 grams of my 20 volume developer. This is kind of liquidy. I don't know if I like that. All right, so let's go ahead and mix this up. Now, if you watched any of my other videos, you know how I feel about developer. I like the thick, richer developers because of the conditioners and buffers in them. Now, so far, I'm actually surprised. I'm kind of liking this texture and the viscosity here. Like, this is pretty nice. I'm not gonna lie. This is why I'm like really excited to do this test today, because as a hairstylist, I think we get so hung up on professional products. So maybe one of these will surprise me with lift and integrity. Let's go ahead and do this brush test. So precision wise, I love this viscosity. I love this texture. I love how thick this is, especially at a 1 to 1.5. Oh my gosh, I totally freaking remember this smell now.
I know the smell.
Now that it's like mixed together, it's very subtle. It's giving me beauty school, 1999 beauty school. So let's go ahead and get this on the swatch. Oh my gosh, like I seriously cannot believe how nice this feels. I don't know why. I think I have been so programmed my whole life to be like, Sally's bleaches are bad. I honestly hope that none of these swatches do too well, because if they do, I think the hairdresser community is probably gonna come for me. I might come for myself. So now we wait. So it's been 50 minutes and our swatch is done, but first I wanted to show you the swell factor of the Wella bleach. And to be completely honest, it didn't swell at all, surprisingly. I'm honestly kind of impressed by this lightener so far, so hopefully the results give me something here. Dun dun dun! So it looks like we got a pretty good lift. I mean, this said it was going to give you up to 7 levels of lift. It looks pretty nice. I'm not going to lie, and I like how it feels so far. So let's go ahead and wash this out. Now that I have the Color Charm by Wella lightener washed off, I really am surprised by the results. Not so much the lift, and we'll get into that in just a second, but by the way this feels. This feels really nice, and this one surprised me. It surprised me with the way that it felt when I mixed it and how the application was. It was really easy, and overall I really like how this feels. And just for a little reference, this was the beginning starting level, and this got pretty late for the amount of time and with 20 volume, and I think it did a pretty good job. But let's go ahead and measure it up to the level finder. So overall, I feel like when I look at this, it's not quite an 8 and it's not quite a 7. I'm gonna give this a 7.5. Now with that being said, did this give us 7 levels of lift? I'm gonna go with a yes on this one, because while it's not a solid level 8, it is a 7.5 on the level finder, and I think this would have been really cool if it lifted to that level 8, and it just quite didn't get there. But 7.5 for a lightener that you can just buy as a non-pro DIYer, this did pretty well. And the fact that the integrity is really great and you have the customization of picking your different developers, this was kind of a win for me. Now, as a professional, I probably wouldn't add this to my arsenal. However, if I was somebody that was doing my hair at home, this would definitely be something that I would consider, just because you got a great lift. It feels amazing. I think with mixing it up correctly and doing the proper application, you can get a decent result at home. I would say this is worth the buck. Next up is Bright White Powder Lightener by Ion that retails for $5.99 for a 1 ounce sachet. Now this lightener claims to give you up to 7 levels of lift, and I've actually never tried this one before, so I'm excited to give it a go. The features and benefits for this one is that it's a dust-free powder formula infused with coconut, chia seed, and sunflower oils, and it provides up to 7 levels of lift. So let's go ahead and mix this one up. Now this lightener claims that it is great for all types of applications, whether it's on scalp, off scalp, foil application. So let's go ahead and do the little sniffy sniff test. Oh, I already see a little bit of dust. And I do smell it. It kind of smells like kind of candy-ish, but definitely like bleach and candy together. I don't know about dust free. There's definitely some dust going on. I will say it's minimal dust, but I can tell there's dust because I'm getting the fragrance like right up my nose. Oh my God. So this kind of has like a sandy texture to it, really fine sand, very similar to a lot of the professional brands out there. So what I poured out in this bowl is actually 35 grams, and this actually says it has 28 grams. So that is a huge call out because that's kind of like a big difference for sure. So I'm glad that I used a scale, and I'm a big believer of using a scale. I think a scale is super important so you can get the best accuracy. So that was kind of like a little shocking that there was more inside this than what it claims on the package. Now you can use 10 through 40 volume with this lightener and do a 1 to 1.5 or 1 to 2 mixing ratio, but it has a really strong claims that if you're going to do on scalp to not exceed 20 volume developer and absolutely no heat. So for this test, we're going to go ahead and mix this up at a 1 to 2 mixing ratio with the 20 volume developer just to kind of make it really easy to mix and just see how much lift we actually get from this lightener. Since I have 35 grams in here, we're going to mix up 70 grams of this developer. Oh, this smells just like the bleach. That's crazy. Developer's not terrible. It's still kind of like watery, and now it's getting chunky. Okay, maybe you need to shake the bottle beforehand. I'm not sure that I like how the developer feels. It was started out like watery and then it turned like bloop, 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 clumpy. What I'm seeing here, and I don't know if the camera is going to be able to get this, but there's like this iridescence to this. I can't even describe it. It looks like there's a glaze inside of this thing. This does have a little bit of rocky clumps to it as well, but it's starting to smooth out. So I'm gonna give this a second to kind of thicken up because so far I'm kind of like not liking this consistency whatsoever. So maybe it just needs some time to thicken up while I get set up. Now that I'm all set up, let's go ahead and do the brush test to look for precision. I don't know, like while this is sticking to my brush pretty well, I'm just not liking it. It feels like it's almost kind of runny. But let's go ahead and get this on. Okay, I mean, it feels good. It does feel really nice. Like I was mentioning when I was mixing it up, it has like that glaze kind of feel to it. It's almost like, I want to say that it's oil, and it might be oil, I don't know, but it feels glazy. That's like the best description I have for you. Now this does have a blue color to it, which is very different from the Wella color charm that had the white, and I usually like white lighteners so I can see exactly how it's lifting. I don't really think that this blue or violet tone that it has is going to get in the way of anything, and I'm always really curious why brands do make lighteners blue. I don't know if that's because they think it's going to neutralize, because 9 times out of 10 you still, or actually 10 times out of 10, you still need to tone the hair. And let the timer begin. Now that it's been 15 minutes, let's go ahead and see this Ion lightener in the bowl. Now we did get quite a bit of swelling here. It did puff up a little bit. I would say like maybe out of 50%, 25% maybe on the lower side, but it definitely smells really strong and it did swell, and I can feel the swelling in this foil. So let's go ahead and open this up. Looks pretty light. I don't know. Oh, you can definitely feel like the little bubbles in here, that it was just like all that oxygen. I'm gonna be kind of surprised to see like integrity wise how this feels. So let's go ahead and wash this out. Now that I washed the Ion swatch out, I didn't really notice this until I was drying it, but I feel like the swatch kind of got a little thin. It does feel nice. I will give it that. It does feel really sleek. I just can't help but wonder if maybe some hair just slipped down the drain without me noticing, because this swatch got really thin in comparison to the others. But so far as I can see, we got a really great lift from this level 2, and it did get pretty light. But let's go ahead and measure this up to the level finder to see how light of a lift we actually got. So right off the bat, it's not quite a level 8, and it's definitely not a 7. I'm gonna go with like a 7.5 with this one. Now there are some lighter pieces of 8s going through it, but I really think that's because the swatch got really thin and hollow, which is kind of weird. So in comparison to the level 2, we did get a really great lift, but I would definitely think this is a little bit of a concern for me as far as integrity wise, if I would experience the same thing on my hair or a client's hair. So for that reason, I probably would skip this one as a DIYer at home. Do I think this is worth a buck? For me personally, no, just because of integrity wise. Next up is Quick Blue High Performance Bleach Powder Lightener from L'Oreal, and this retails for $6.59 for a 1 ounce packet. Now this lightener claims to give you up to 7 levels, and I've actually used this lightener back in the day, again, beauty school days. This is like the OG lightener I think every hairstylist has used at some point or another. Now the features and benefits for this lightener is that it's going to deliver a really fast and brighter superior lightening in a powder formula. Its extra strength lightening action is going to give you up to 7 levels of lift. It's dust free, non-drip concentrated, and it's easy for on and off scalp applications, and it stays moist and creamy. So the way to mix this one up is you can do 10 through 40 volume for off scalp at a 1 to 1.5 or 1 to 2 mixing ratio. And then for on scalp application, it does recommend that you can do 20 or 30 volume developer at a 1 to 1.5 and up to 1 to 2.5 mixing ratio. But for this test, we're going to be doing a 1 to 2 mixing ratio with 20 volume developer. Okay, so now let's go ahead and open this up. So this little packet looks like I might need scissors. This time I have scissors handy because last time I had to go find a gazillion scissors to open up the last packet. Oh my God, that was so strong. I don't even want to go in for a second one. So let's go ahead and do the dust test. Oof. It's like literally not necessarily like the most pleasant type of bleach smell, but it definitely smells like a bleach lightener. It's really strong. It smells like a lot of chemicals for sure, like plasticky chemicals. Call out for this one is I dispensed 32 grams of lightener into this bowl, while this claims to have 28.35 grams. So again, I'm gonna go back to the scale. You guys really need to use scale so you get the best accuracy. And if you're doing this at home, I highly recommend you just get a regular food scale that you can use for your kitchen, really. Let's go ahead and see what this feels like. Honestly, I'm feeling like it's just really fine sand, kind of powdered sugary, but I've used this lightener a gazillion times in beauty school, so I'm excited to get this mixed up. So since I have 32 grams, I'm going to be doing 64 grams of the dedicated developer. So L'Oreal Quick Blue recommended that we do the Orior cream developer. So it's really important that you do use what is recommended. Ooh, okay. So this one's actually a little bit more of a creamier type of developer, which you know I love. Now let's mix this up. I don't know, it's mixing up exactly how I kind of remembered it, which is funny because I know brands change and reformulate throughout the years. So I don't know if this is just an OG formula that has not changed, but it does give me the same vibe of what I remember it to be. Now, as I'm mixing this up, I am seeing little tiny rocks in here, and it is starting to thicken up, which is good. So this kind of looks a little on the thin side. I'm gonna go ahead and let this thicken up and get ready for the brush test. Now that I'm all set up, let's go ahead and do the brush test. Now this lightener has thickened up a little bit as it's been sitting in the bowl. I like that it is thicker, but I don't know, there's just something about it that I don't like how it feels. It's like, it doesn't necessarily move enough, if that makes sense. But let's go ahead and get this on and see how it feels. And so far, I like how this feels. It does feel kind of creamy as it's going on, very much like the Wella Color Charm powder lightener. I think the thing that I'm looking forward to from this test is really to see the integrity of the hair and the lift, and to really know if professional lighteners truly are better than the Sally brands. So this lightener is going to process up to 50 minutes and absolutely no heat. So let's go ahead and let this one bake. It's been 50 minutes with the Quick Blue. Let's go ahead and see what we got in the bowl. Tons of swelling action. I'm not sure that I would like a lightener like this because it is way too puffy puff. This is a puffier than Puff Daddy. No diddy. And also what's feeling like in the foil as well, it's very puffy too. So let's go ahead and open this up and maybe it'll surprise us. Okay, like it actually lifted pretty well. I'm not mad about it. You know, all of these claim to have 7 levels of lift. It does not necessarily feel like the most hydrated. It feels like a pretty typical blue lightener type of bleach. But let's go ahead and wash this off. Now that the Quick Blue has been washed out, first impressions of this, we got a really great lift. This did claim to give us up to 7 levels of lift, and I feel like we got pretty close to that, but we'll see when we get to the level finder in just a second. Now, when it comes to integrity, it doesn't feel like super hydrated, but also doesn't feel super dry either. It's just kind of like in the middle for me, in complete honesty. Now, when I look at this side by side with the level 2 swatch, you can see we got a really great lift for 1 little session and 20 volume. Amazing, but let's go ahead and measure this up to the level finder. Now, instantly looking at this, I can see that it's definitely not a 7 and it's definitely not an 8. I feel like I'm gonna go with a solid 7.5 for this one. It's kind of like in the middle. It's got a little bit of those orange tones and some of those orange yellow tones, which are similar to the 8. So overall, great lift if you're looking for a warmer end result. Now, this is not something that I would use as a professional hairstylist behind the chair, but as a DIYer, I can see this as a great general lightener that you could use. Now, when it comes to the integrity, like I mentioned, it's kind of middle of the road for me. It's not super hydrated and it's not super dry. And is this worth the buck for me? I'm gonna give this a yes, just because I feel like you can truly customize it to work for you with the different mixing ratios, developers, and then maybe you can finish this off with like a really good hydrating mask or protein mask to make it work for you. Next up is Powder Lightener by Generic Value Products. Now this comes in at $3.89 for a 1 ounce packet. Now this lightener claims to give you up to 7 levels of lift, but what was really interesting about this product is that it's saying that it's comparable to the Wella Blondor Multi-Blonde Dust-Free Lightener, which I tested in another video. Now, what was even more interesting about this is that it says consumer education and guarantee on the back label. So I went back to the back label just to see what was here, and it says Generic Value Products were formed because a group of experienced chemists and marketing people knew they could produce popular prices, a product as good as higher priced quality name brands. Now they do disclose that they're no way in affiliation with Wella products or any of its owners or trademarks. I don't know, the fact that the price is pretty low and that it claims to be just as good as Wella, I mean, we're definitely going to be able to see and tell today. If these results truly come out to be the same as Wella, could you imagine a big brand like Wella getting beat out by a brand named Generic? So the features and benefits for this one are providing up to 7 levels of lift. It's perfect for balayage techniques, full head highlighting, color correction, regrowth applications, and great for highlights with foils. The biggest call out is that it's cruelty free and the finished product does not test on animals. The blue powder lightener helps reduce all of those yellow tones. It's dust free and vegan. Now the instructions on how to mix this up is 1 to 1.5 or 1 to 2 mixing ratio with 10 through 40 volume. They do recommend a lower volume of a developer if you're going to be doing on scalp applications. And overall, the desired end result depends on the condition of the hair. So if the hair is a little compromised, you're going to do less timing, but you can process this up to 50 minutes. So let's go ahead and mix this one up. So I've never used this lightener before, but I'm definitely intrigued as to what a generic brand smells like. Okay, so I can't smell anything. So let's go ahead and see if this is truly dust free. I'm gonna go ahead and dump out the whole content. All right, so no dust. Surprise, like I'm kind of surprised so far. Still no smell. So this kind of feels like a little fine sand, and obviously there was no dust. You can definitely see this blue powder here. I'm not mad about it so far, so let's go ahead and see how this mixes up. Now for this test, I am going to be doing a 1 to 2 mixing ratio with the 20 volume developer that is dedicated to the generic brand. So since I have the 30 grams, I'm going to be putting in 60 grams of the developer. Oh my gosh, this is like kind of thick and doesn't want to come out. Okay, so the developer looks kind of like rich and creamy, which is nice. That tells me there's a lot of conditioners and buffers in it. I don't really have like a smell that I'm getting out of this, but let's go ahead and mix this up. Honestly, I'm gonna be kind of shocked if like I end up liking half of this because I just can't ever see myself using a brand called Generic. Although people all the time do buy Kirkland things at Costco, right? You buy like Target branded things. I get it, but no, it's hard as a professional to give in to the genericness. All right, so first impressions here, you guys. I kind of like it. I like the viscosity. This is crazy. Oh my gosh. Let me know down below in the comments if you want me to put this head to head with the Wella Blondor, and then we're gonna see truly like do a side-by-side comparison. I'm just kind of like shocked that I like this viscosity and I like this mixing ratio. The smell, there's no smells, dust-free. Like, okay, we need to get this on and do the brush test. Let's do this brush test. Oh my gosh. I like how that feels too. What is happening in the world? Maybe these chemists and marketers do know what they're doing. Let's get this onto the swatch. I mean, it feels really nice going on. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, it feels great. I do like it. I don't think that the blue is super overpowering. That is a kind of a call out for me, because sometimes when it's too blue, it just tricks your eye a little too much. But it'll be interesting to see how this processes, if it truly does play a trick on your eye. Imagine this lightener lifts 9 levels, even though it claims 7, and it just like blows all of the lighteners out of the water. Let's go ahead and process this. Now that it's been 15 minutes, let's go ahead and see how this lightener did in the bowl. Now, there's definitely some swelling, nothing super crazy, but swelling nonetheless. So it's definitely something to be considered when you're doing like on scalp application or for precision work. But you know what? It's not terrible. I'm not mad about it. It's actually pretty good. Okay, I mean, it looks like it lifted pretty good. I don't know if it's the equivalency to the Wella Blondor. I mean, that's some pretty strong claims there because, like I said, I've tested that in the other video. It feels pretty good. Let's go ahead and wash this one out. Now that this generic lightener has been completely washed off, we got a really great lift, and this feels really nice. I'm really surprised considering this is the cheapest lightener out of the entire lighteners that I've tried today. This does feel really great. I do think we got a really great lift in comparison to this level 2 swatch. But let's go ahead and measure this up to the level finder and see if we truly got a solid 7 levels of lift. So immediately off the bat, just looking at this swatch, it's not quite an 8, it's not quite a 7. This is really similar to the findings that we've had so far, and it's just not giving me that full solid 7 levels of lift, but I'm definitely gonna say that it delivered because we went from a 2 to this 7.5 lift, and overall I do think it did pretty well. I do see a little bit of 8s kind of going on in there. Now the benefit of this lightener is that you can customize this with different developers and different mixing ratios to really make it work for you, and I do think this came out really great, and I'm all about rooting for an underdog, but just the fact that it's named generic and it did so well is just so surprising to me. And hairstylists, please don't hate me, but as a professional, would I add this to my arsenal? I don't know. You know, I would like to say no, but I kind of want to play with this one a little bit more, to be completely honest. It just kind of blew me away with the amount of lift, but it's really the integrity piece. This is kind of giving me like wow factor feeling on how I felt with the Firmisi. Like, I just can't believe how great this feels, and the fact that it is a lower cost. Maybe if I was like starting out in the hair salon early in my career, I definitely would probably use this just to gain a little bit more practice. Now, there are some benefits to using professional lighteners that I do like that so far none of these have been able to give me, but would I use this? Yeah, I probably would. So is this one worth the buck? I'm gonna say 100% yes. Next up is a Super Oriole Blanc Professional Bleach Powder Lightener that retails for $6.59 for a 1.13 ounce little sachet. Now this lightener claims to give you up to 7 levels of lift, and I've actually never used this one, so I am excited to try it. We are going to be using the same developer from the other L'Oreal brand, which is kind of nice. You don't have to use like a bunch of different developers if you use multiple lighteners. Now the features and benefits of this particular lightener is that it's great for off-scalp application and ensures a comfortable experience, stays moist and creamy, allowing a self-paced, unhurried application, non-drip, thick, workable paste that stays where it's applied, and it works only where it's desired. So overall in its claims, this is saying that this is great for precision and this is great for the DIYer that maybe takes a really long time for application. So it's almost kind of giving me safe vibes, but we'll see exactly how this does. Now the mixing ratios were a little confusing on the package and doesn't really specify how much powder to put in. So I'm assuming you have to empty the entire contents of the packet and then mix it up with 1.7 ounce or 2.5 ounces of your developer to each packet. So it just kind of depends on the viscosity that you want. It's not really saying to use one over the other or giving you a specific ratio. So we're gonna go ahead and mix this up to make it really easy at a 1:2 mixing ratio. So now we're gonna need scissors to open this one up. Let's go ahead and see. So we got a little bit or a lot of it of dust. So the packet says it has 32 grams of lightener and I measured 31, so pretty close. So since I have 31 grams, I'm gonna go ahead and mix up 62 grams of my developer. Now I forgot to feel it, but from the looks of it, it's kind of like a sandy powdered sugar. Now that this is marrying together, I'm starting to get the fragrance. So a lot of times I find that lighteners need the developer to like get that fragrance out. So far I'm liking how creamy this is, but there are a lot of rocks in this one, like little clumpy clumps. For that, I kind of don't like that. So I'm gonna keep mixing this up for a little while and then get set up, and then hopefully this kind of thickens up. Now that I'm all set up, this has been literally like blasting me with like the ammonia smell. It is so strong. We're gonna go ahead and do the brush test to see for viscosity. And it's not bad. It does feel like when I scoop it up in the bowl, it's like a little on the thinner side, but it's definitely creamy. So let's go ahead and get this on. It is going on really nice and it feels very creamy. So for that, I really actually kind of like it. I just wish it was a little thicker. Now with this lightener, you can use 20 or 30 volume for foiling techniques, but if you're going to do open air hair painting, it does suggest to do 20 through up to 40 volume. So the choice is really yours depending on the integrity of the hair. And now we just let it process. Now before I put this timer on, it did say that just to let the bleach remain on the hair until the desired lift is done processing. I'm gonna go ahead and put a timer on for 50 minutes for this one, just kind of similar to the rest of them, and just see exactly how far it's lifted. Now that it's been 50 minutes, let's go ahead and see how much swelling we got in this bowl. It did swell up a little bit and it is a little airy. I can't say that it's like super puffy puff, but I do think that, I don't know, now that I'm breaking this up, no, it did swell up a lot. You could see like the air pockets inside of this lightener, and for that reason, it would be a pretty big concern for me. And also I do feel a little bit of swelling inside of the foil. So let's go ahead and see what's inside. I mean, this looks pretty good. All of these are kind of surprising me, to be honest. I don't know what I was expecting. Maybe part of the bad rap that Sally's lighteners carry is not necessarily the fact that they have bad products, but maybe it's user error. Maybe there's just way too many people don't know what the hell they're doing, right? So let's go ahead and wash this one out. Now that I've rinsed out the Super Oriole Blanc Professional Powder Lightener, we got a great lift. Overall, amazing. You know, when you're looking at this level 2, I think we got pretty close to that 7 levels of lift that it claims. It does feel soft, but it's not like wow factor soft to me. So I'm gonna kind of go middle of the road. Like it's definitely not dry, and it does feel moisturized and hydrated, but not like super hydrated. Like I really feel like we could get a little bit more hydration out of this one. Now let's go ahead and measure this up to the level finder to see if we truly got that 7 levels of lift. So right off the bat, I'm definitely seeing lots of 7s and lots of 8s throughout this. So I'm gonna go with a solid 7.5 with this one also. I just think this is a great end result if you're looking for that warm end result or warm toner. But if you're truly looking for something on the cooler end and you are a level 2, you might need something a little stronger than what this is delivering. But overall, I do think this gave us a great lift, pretty close to its claims of 7 levels. And as a professional, would I add this to my arsenal? Probably not, but if you are a DIYer and need a good general lightener, this could be a really good one because you can customize it with the different mixing ratios and also with the developer choice. And I think there's lots of customizable ways on how you can use this, whether it's on scalp, off scalp, foils, lots of great options. Now, do I think this is worth the buck? I'm gonna go with a yes on this one. Next up is a Lightning Fast Bleach Kit with Intrabond by Punky Color, and this goes for $16.49 for this entire kit. Now, I've never used this lightener before, and it does have some really interesting call outs on the back with your starting level and how light it can get you. Now, there is 40 volume inside of this kit, but let's go ahead and open this up and see what's inside. Now, some key features and benefits is that this is great for on and off scalp applications. It's de-dusted to keep mixing at a minimum for effective and controlled blonding. Added special ingredients to help neutralize unwanted brass or excessive yellow and orange tones for maximum lift. The added serum with Intrabond allows the bleaching process to take place without compromising the condition of the hair. Get less breakage, improved condition, and improved fullness. So first impressions. Oh, that's cute. They gave you a little baby brush. We got the lightest and brightest bleach powder packet inside. So this is basically 1 ounce of lightener. Got a little instruction packet, which is really important. The little developer of 40 volume. We got the serum additive with Intrabond, which I'm assuming goes inside. This really cute little baby hair mask that, I don't know, we'll see how much this actually covers later, but I don't know, it's kind of nice that it didn't include it. And I think most box dye type of products have a mask. I honestly don't know, but that's what I hear on the internet. And then finally, we got some gloves. I honestly, like, look how these are for like giants. Oh, they're actually not that bad, but I can't work in these, but I'm gonna work in them today. Now, the way the instructions say to mix it up in the insert is to mix it at a 1:2 mixing ratio, blend that together, and then we're gonna add in the additive that it came with. And dark hairs at levels black to dark brown, you're gonna wanna process it anywhere from 10 to 60 minutes. So we're gonna go the full 60 minutes with this application. So let's do the sniff test. It's definitely has a strong bleach fragrance, but not too crazy. I did see a little bit of dust come out, so let's go ahead and empty this contents. Not terrible. Like, there's not very much dust for sure, so that's pretty nice. It does have like a blue cast to it, and it just feels like very airy type of fine sand. So let's go ahead and empty out the contents of this developer. Now, this did claim that it has 1 ounce of lightener in here, which is approximately 28 grams, and we got 29 grams, so pretty close. And there's 2 ounces inside this bottle. So far this feels pretty similar to a lot of other bleach lighteners I've used. Now, it does feel like a little on the thin side, but again, this might be another lightener that needs some time to kind of thicken up. So I'm gonna go ahead and let it do its thing because it is a little too thin for me as far as viscosity is concerned. I almost forgot I need to put in this Intrabond serum additive. So this is supposed to help protect the hair from breakage. So very similar in the sense of like Olaplex or K18. So we're gonna go ahead and put this on, and it says to empty the entire contents of this. It just kind of feels like a little, like a serum, like an oil mixing inside. Ah, that stinks. It literally smells like eggs or something. Like perm mixed with bleach. Oh, I did a really big no-no. I was supposed to put these gloves on before I mixed it up because safety is key. So I'm gonna go ahead and put these on right now. So let's go ahead and do the brush test. I'm gonna give it a C plus, maybe a B for precision here. Oh, the egg smell kind of went away, but like, it's just that bleach. Oh, that's pretty strong. So far, I'm not really loving how this is going on the hair. It just is, like I said, a little too thin for me. It's really strong smelling. It's actually affecting my stomach up a little bit. I don't know if I would really like using this in the future again, but we'll see if this truly does what it says it's going to do, which is help neutralize those orange and yellow tones and get us to a higher lift. I almost feel like as I'm painting this on, it just the bleach is not staying where I want it to stay at all. It's like moving off of the hair. So for that, I just really don't like this, but we're gonna go ahead and stop here and let this process, and let's pray to the hair gods I never have to mix this up or smell this again. Now that it's been 60 minutes, we are gonna take a look at the swell factor, and it's definitely swelled up quite a bit. It's very kind of airy, and yeah, just lots of swell factor here. Lots of swell factor inside this foil, and the fragrance is really strong with this one still. So let's go ahead and open this up. Okay, I mean, this looks pretty freaking light. I'm not surprised though because of how strong this smells. Ooh, you can really feel all of the airy bubbles inside of this one. I'm really wondering as far as like integrity goes with this, because it does claim that it's gonna protect the integrity. And just to follow the process with this one, I'm gonna go ahead and follow up with the mask that came inside the box. We'll just have to wash this one out. Now that the lightning fast bleach kit has been washed out, overall first impressions, looks like we got a pretty good lift. Now, when it comes to integrity though, I can't help but think that this swatch also looks kind of like hollow. Like, it doesn't look as full as it did when we first started. Now, it does feel nice. It does feel hydrated. It does feel smooth. Now, in comparison to the level 2 swatch, I definitely think we got a really great lift. I do think it delivered in comparison to the back of the box here. I think we got about that level of lift, which is saying if you have really dark hair, that it's gonna lift to about here. And I think we got close to it. You can definitely see there's like warm tones in this box, in this image. So let's go ahead and match this up to the level finder and see how light we actually got this. So immediately off the bat, not quite a 7, not quite an 8. We got somewhere in between. I think we got a good solid 6.5 levels of lift. So I'm gonna go with a 7.5 on this one too. Got a lot of orange tones, a lot of warmth going on. So if you want something that has a warm end result, this could be a great option for you. But as a professional, I really like getting to at least a level 8. So I have the ultimate control, especially when I'm doing blondes. Now, when it comes to integrity, I do think this feels soft. I feel the slip in it. But the ends, there's just something about the ends going on here that just feel really hollow. So I'm almost wondering as I was washing it out if some of the hair really in fact did break off. And there's really no way for me to tell just because it would probably go down the drain. It doesn't look as smooth as it could be. So even though cosmetically it like feels smooth, visually I'm not really getting that vibe. As a professional, would I use this kit in my salon? 1000% no, just because there's no customization with this whatsoever. Now, as a DIYer, would I use this? I'm gonna go with a no on that as well. Again, when you're doing hair at home, you want to be able to have the customization of those mixing ratios and your developers and some timing. There's so much more that goes into doing hair than just mixing something that's a one for all. And I just don't think that those types of kits typically do too well. So is this worth the buck? I'm gonna go with a negative on that one. Next up is Salon Care Blue Flash Bleach Lightener that retails for $4.89 for a 1 ounce packet. Now this lightener claims to have 7 to 8 levels of lift, and I've actually never used this lightener before, so I am excited to try it. Now, one thing I do want to disclose, I'm not gonna be able to empty the entire contents of this because this is the only developer I have, and unfortunately, I do need to save a little bit of this for another lightener that we're gonna test after this one. So for that reason, we're just going to be mixing up a small batch of this, but hopefully we'll still get a really good result for you. Now, some features and benefits is that this is going to give you up to 7 to 8 levels of lift. It's a professional formula. It's great for on or off scalp applications, and it claims it's going to give you minimal swelling. Now, the best way to mix up this lightener is by using 10 through 40 volume at a 1:2 mixing ratio, except if you're going to do on scalp, they recommend that you do a 1:2 mixing ratio with 20 volume developer. Now, this does state to not use any heat, and the processing time is up to 45 minutes. So let's go ahead and open this up. Oh, I thought there was a little perforated thing there, but it's not. So let's go ahead and cut this bad boy. It like went pew. Oh my God. That was too much, too much. 911, 911. I should have known better. Let me see, is there dust? Oh my God, there's freaking dust. It's definitely a blue little lightener in here. I'm kidding. Lemon? Maybe my sinuses are effed up. So I'm only gonna do about 10 grams of this, which is about a half an ounce. Now, as far as how this feels, it's kind of like really fine sand again. So now that I have 10 grams, it's gonna allow me to just put in 20 grams of the developer. So the developer is kind of like mid, it's nothing crazy. It's not super thick and not super thin, but I would say it definitely favors the thin side. So this actually mixes up pretty nice. I don't know, it kind of, this one's reminding me a lot of the Schwarzkopf Blonde Me that I mixed up in the other video. You can kind of see like the little fiber action in it. Let's go ahead and do the brush test. So A+ for precision. I actually do like this viscosity and mixing ratio. I am a little concerned with the smell and the dust factor for sure with this one. So let's get this on. Honestly, this literally feels like the Blonde Me. This is crazy. It's almost like the same thickness and everything. How it's kind of like hard to work through. But I would say if you are going to use this lightener, make sure you're taking really thin sections. I'm guessing this one's probably going to give us the most lift just because of the smell. I don't know. This is just screaming strong lightener to me, not in a good way. And we're just going to let this process for 45 minutes. So it's been 45 minutes. Let's go ahead and see the swell factor. I would definitely say this probably has like quite a bit of swell because it has a lot of little air pockets in it, and that's kind of a huge indicator. And definitely you can see the swell with this one. I don't know if you can see there's like a little like hump over this. Well, let's go ahead and open this one up. So it looks like it did a pretty good job. It looks like we got a really good lightning action, but definitely lots of little air pockets and swelling with this one. So this one I would say I'd be a little cautious on, but let's wash this out and see what the results truly say to us. Now that I rinsed out the Blue Flash lightener out, we got a really great lift. I think it overall looks like it gave us about 7, maybe 8 levels of lift, but we'll definitely test that in just a second. Now, in terms of integrity, I'm not super crazy about it. I also feel like the ends are a little hollow. It does appear to be dry. Now, when I put this side by side with the level 2 swatch, we definitely got a really great lift. So let's go ahead and see truly if we got that 7, maybe 8 levels of lift. Looking at this, we're not quite at a 7 and we're not quite at an 8. I'm gonna go with a solid 7.5. So this is another one where if you did use it, you're gonna get more of a warmer end result starting at a level 2 using the 20 volume developer. So did this meet its claims? Not quite, but almost. I'm gonna give it A for effort though. Overall, the lift on this is the same as the other lighteners that we've tested. And when it comes to integrity wise, I definitely think there's other ones that are better suited for DIY. As a professional, I definitely would not add this to my arsenal. However, as a DIYer, you could use, different levels of developer, different mixing ratios, but based on how this feels and integrity wise, I feel like I'm gonna give this one a pass. I think that there's definitely better options at Sally's that you can use. So is this lightener worth the buck? I'm gonna go with a maybe. Next up is Salon Care Quick White Lightening Powder, and this retails for $4.89 for a 1 ounce packet. Now this lightener claims to give you up to 8 levels of lift. I have definitely used this lightener in the past. I mean, this is like 2 decades ago at this point, so throw me back to beauty school. But I can tell you, I used to get some orange ass hair, but again, is this user error or is it simply not a good product? We'll find out today. Some features and benefits is that it's going to give you up to 8 levels of lift. It's a professional formula that's great for on or off scalp, and it claims to give you minimal swelling. Now the best way to mix this lightener up is with 10 through 40 volume at a 1:2 mixing ratio. With the exception if you're going to do on scalp, they highly recommend that you use 20 volume and you're not going to use any heat, and you can process this up to 45 minutes. So let's go ahead and mix this one up. So this one I don't need any scissors with, so we're just gonna open this little perforated area up. Oh my gosh, it literally looks exactly how I remember it. And smells exactly how I remember it. That bleach plastic smell. We're gonna use a scoop because I don't have enough developer. So we're just gonna do 10 grams. We're gonna do 15 grams because I feel like I have enough developer for this one. We're gonna see if we truly get like minimal swelling with this. Now this one is very like powdered sugar, so really nice consistency. So let's go ahead and put in our 30 grams of our 20 volume. So this is mixing up kind of thin. I'm not really liking it too much. Overall feels kind of like sandy in the bowl, although it is starting to turn into a creamy consistency. But let's go ahead and set up and see if this thickens up, and we'll do the brush test. So now it's thickened up a little bit and it's pretty nice. I wouldn't say this is like my favorite for precision. It does feel pretty nice. It almost seems like it'll be great for like highlights or something like that, but not necessarily for on scalp application. I just feel like it kind of moves a little too much, but let's go ahead and get this on. And it feels really nice. It feels kind of creamy. I like that it's working through the hair really nice. I don't really feel like I have to work so hard to get it in there. I'm gonna go back to like the dense cloud thing. It's like a cloud, just I wish it was slightly more denser. And A+ that it's white so you can see how it's lifting. Now let's go ahead and let this baby bake. Now that it's been 45 minutes, let's go ahead and see the swell factor for this lightener. And surprisingly, there's not too much swelling with this one. I was actually expecting it to be a little bit more, and I don't know if it's because it was a smaller batch, but it definitely is like really runny now that it's been sitting there. However, in the foil, I am feeling a little bit of puffy puff action. So let's go ahead and open this one up and see how this lifted. Wow, I mean, this is pretty light, and I don't know if it's because it's like a white lightener, we're really getting to see that, but yeah, this definitely swelled up quite a bit in the foil, so that would definitely be a concern. Although as I'm pulling this off, I'm starting to see a lot of those orange tones coming out, but we need to wash this off to really see the true level. Now that Quick White is completely shampooed out, we got a good lift. However, this did say that it has a claim of up to 8 levels of lift, so I was expecting that it was going to be a little bit more than what we got going on here. However, in comparison to this level 2 swatch, it does look pretty light. Now, integrity wise, this feels really great. I'm actually really surprised at how nice this feels. It does feel really smooth. It feels like the fullness is there. Visually, it looks pretty good. There is a little bit going on with the ends here where they're slightly frayed, but nothing terrible. So let's go ahead and measure this up next to the level finder. Now, right off the bat, very similar results to the others that we've tested today. It's not quite a 7. It's not quite an 8. It's somewhere right in between. So I'm gonna go with a solid 7.5 with this one as well. This is a great lightener to use if you're trying to get a warm end result, if you truly are a level 2. Overall, I do think we got a really great lift. However, I do think there's other lighteners out there that have lower claims, and we got the same end result of that 7.5. Integrity wise, like I said, it feels hydrated. It feels pretty nice. A little bit of dryness on the ends, but nothing super concerning. I think that's pretty typical with most bleach lighteners, where you have to add a little bit more hydration to finish off the service. As a professional, would I add this lightener to my arsenal? I'm gonna go with a no, just because I know there's lots of other lighteners out there professionally that I love using, and I will get a higher lift and better feeling end result. As a DIYer, would I use this? Probably. I think there's lots of customizations with this. You can use this in highlights, in foil, on and off scalp applications, and you have different mixing ratios and timings to kind of mess with. Is this worth the buck? Definitely. Next up is the Ultra Bond Powder Lightener by Age Beautiful that retails for $7.69 for a 1 ounce packet. Now, this lightener came the highest rated on the Sally's Beauty website because it's the only one that claims 9+ levels of lift. Now, this is a lightener I've never used before, and it's also the most expensive per ounce, so I'm really excited to give this a go and see truly how many levels of lift this truly gets. Now, some key features and benefits of this lightener is that it contains bond-building arginine, lysine, and keratin to beautifully maintain the integrity of the hair. I really hope I'm saying that right. It has built-in bonding for stronger, shinier, and more youthful-looking hair. It leaves your hair incredibly soft, silky, and full of radiant shine. It's great for on or off scalp applications, suitable for bowl and brush. It enforces bonds to strengthen the hair, and it's gonna lift up to that 9+ levels of lift. Now the best way to use this is you can use 10 through 40 volume for off scalp, and it specifically states that you can mix it up at a 1 to 1.5 for off scalp applications. However, with on scalp application, it is recommending that you do a 1 to 3 mixing ratio and you only use 20 volume developer. So let's go ahead and mix this up. And a huge call out is do not use any heat, and you can process this up to 60 minutes. So for this test, we're going to be doing the 1 to 1.5 for the off scalp application with 20 volume developer. Let's go ahead and cut this. Now I will say every single one of these brands has the tiniest little bit of writing in the back. I wish that was a little bigger, so that way there was a little less error for use. But let's go ahead and smell this. Definitely like a really pretty blue lightener. So it's pretty strong. Definitely smells like a lot of the Pro lighteners I've used. That's as far as of a sniff I'm gonna do. So let's go ahead and empty out this contents. And I don't really see a lot of dust, which is kind of nice. I mean, I can smell that it's strong, but I don't really feel like it's too much in your face. It is strong though, I can smell it. And it definitely has like a powdered sugar sandy texture. Now my scale says that it has 30 grams and the package says 28, so pretty close. Since I have 30 grams of lightener inside of my bowl, I'm going to be putting in 45 grams of my dedicated 20 volume developer. So far, this one's feeling most like a lot of the professional lighteners I've used, like this one and the Wella for sure. Oh, now the smell is getting to me. That just like slapped me in the face. It was like an explosion of ammonia. So this is a very thick viscosity, almost kind of too thick. So I'm almost wondering if mixing it at the 1 to 3 for on scalp would be good, but you can definitely see there's like fibrous action here. So it's just a little too thick for me, but we're gonna trust the process because this was recommended for off scalp. So let's do the brush test. So right off the bat, I don't like this viscosity whatsoever. It's very fibrous, like almost just too much fiber. It's like sticking and it's not spreading very easily. So I'm not sure that I'm gonna really like this one. And when lightener is really fibrous like this and really thick, it makes it really difficult to open up the hair in the foil. So if you are gonna use this lightener, just take really, really thin sections. I'm gonna go in with a really big chunk and see if I can work it through a little better. Now I'm assuming this got really high ratings because of the lift, but not necessarily the application. And now we're gonna go ahead and let this one do its thing. Now that it's been 60 minutes, let's check out this swell factor from this lightener. Like, holy cow, this has a crazy amount of swelling. Like, I just can't believe it. But to be expected, if you were sitting here smelling what I'm smelling right now, you would understand why. So there's definitely lots of swell factor with this one. Pretty sure you can see the puffy puff action going on. And if you can't, let's open this bad boy up and see what exactly is inside. So it looks pretty light, I'm not gonna lie, but definitely a lot of swell factor here. And considering it's pretty expensive per ounce, I would be a little cautious in using this lightener just because precision wise, if you're doing like a root retouch, I don't know that I would want to use something that swells this much because you're going to get overlap and then create more damage. So let's go ahead and wipe this clean here because I do think like these blue lighteners definitely play a trick on your eye, but as I'm wiping this, it does look pretty light, like on the mids and ends for sure. And it was, you know, really difficult to work it through, but let's wash this one out and see truly how high of a lift we got. Now that the Ultra Blonde Powder Lightener has been shampooed out, this has a really great lift. I'm actually kind of surprised at how well this did just because it was so strong, a very offensive odor that I was really expecting it to not only lift high, but honestly just kind of fry the hair. And that is not the result that we got whatsoever. This entire swatch looks pretty full and really nice. And sizing this up next to this level 2, it did a fantastic job. So let's go ahead and measure this up next to the level finder and see exactly how much lift that we got out of this light. lightener. So right off the bat, I can tell you this is definitely not a 7 whatsoever. This is giving me like solid level 8. There are a little bit of 9s in there, but mostly an 8. In general, 8 type of lift that we got out of this lightener. It didn't quite give us the 9 levels with the 20 volume, but it still got us to an 8, and a level 8 is the perfect level to really control, enhance, neutralize. You have a lot of options with the level 8 going from that level 2. Overall, I can see why this is the highest rated lightener out there. Lots of customizations with application. I think that you can mix it up with different mixing ratios, different volumes of developer. The list goes on with this one. The only negative that I had with this was the way it felt as I was applying it, and also just the smell. It was so strong. Like, I can't imagine putting this on in an apartment that was like kind of small and just sitting there in your fumes. Like, it's pretty intense, the fragrance. Now, as a professional, would I use this lightener? I'm gonna definitely say hard pass, just because I know I can get this type of lift with a professional lightener that doesn't have the same type of odor. And also, I know there's some out there that have a strong lift that have a much better viscosity that I personally like. As a DIYer, would I use this? I'm gonna say definitely yes, just because if this is the highest lift that you can get on a level 2, like, that's pretty impressive. And if you can get past the smell and figure out a great way to apply, then I think you can get a really great end result. So is this one worth the buck, considering this is the most expensive per ounce? I'm gonna say yes. Next up is the Power Powder Lightener Kit by Blonde Brilliance. Next up is Power Powder. I'm gonna try to spit this out without stuttering. Next up is the Power Powder Lightning Powder. Next up is the Power Powder Lightener Kit by Blonde Brilliance. Now, this kit costs $18.69 for this entire kit that gives you up to 9 levels of lift. Now, what's interesting about this kit is that it includes a highlighting cap, a needle, a mixing tray, gloves. You got the developer. Honestly, I can't wait to open this one up because I want to see what the mixing tray and the highlighting cap and needle thing is all about. Some features and benefits is that it is protective and conditioning. It's recognized for its nourishing value, softening and smoothing, reduces dryness, and it's moisturizing. Now, before I tell you how to use this, let's go ahead and open this up because I need to see exactly what's inside to even remotely explain to you how to use it. So this looks really interesting, and this isn't something I typically pick up off of the shelf, but it looks like we got this spoolie. I don't know what this is for. Maybe it's for my eyebrow hairs or something. I don't know. And then we got this brush. Not super excited about it, but I'm sure it'll do. We got the lightener sachet, and this actually has 30 grams, so about 1 ounce of powder lightener. And then we have the 35 volume developer that comes with it. So here is the cap that it comes with. And as a hairstylist, I definitely do not recommend caps at all, okay? Just, they don't work. Like, they do if you want bleeding spots, but they just don't work. And I'm going to demonstrate. This is the hook. It's literally a piece of plastic. I'm not sure what this like fish end is for. Like, it looks like a fin. I don't know if that's supposed to be to mix around and scoop, maybe? Let's go ahead and see if I can, oh, I got in there. I didn't pull anything out, did I? I'm trying to feel where the hook is at. Oh, that kind of hurts. Okay, so this hook is really hard to pull hair. Oh, owie, what the, I just pulled out my own hair. Do not recommend. Let's see what else is inside here. These look like they're the gloves. Okay, so these gloves, these are like vinyl gloves. So these are like a little nicer than the other ones that were in the other kit. And then, of course, instructions. I am assuming that your mixing bowl that it's supposed to come with is this. Oh my God, you guys, look at this. It's literally a bowl that comes out. Here's your mixing bowl. So the way you mix this is with 5 volume up to 35 volume with their dedicated developers, and they do not recommend that you use anything higher than 15 volume for on-scalp applications. Now, as far as mixing ratios go, you can do 1 to 1.5 or 1 to 2.5. So for this mixing ratio, we're gonna do 1 to 2.5, and we're gonna be using its dedicated bowl. Now, one more call out is absolutely no heat, so process at room temperature and do not exceed 50 minutes of processing time. All right, so let's go ahead and mix this up. This kind of reminds me of another lightener, like a Pro Hair lightener that I've used, and I just can't put my finger on it, but it has this pleasant smell. Like, I'm not mad about it. So let's go ahead and measure this up and see exactly how much is in here. So this actually says that it's 35 grams. It's 5 grams off of what's on the package, but pretty close. It's kind of like a lot of airiness to it for sure. Honestly, the fragrance is pretty nice. Like, I don't mind it. It smells like kind of clean. So since I had 35 grams of lightener in my bowl, I'm gonna go up to 88 grams of my developer and just kind of sprinkle this in. I'm literally so confused what this spoolie's for. Like, it doesn't make any sense, but let's go ahead and mix this up. I'm actually gonna use the backside of this hook to mix this up. So far, this is very interesting. I definitely do not like this bowl. This is where I would think you need like a little whisk. Like, if they're gonna do this, it'd be cool if like the other end were like a little plastic whisk or something. Okay, so now I'm almost done mixing this up. You know, the viscosity is okay. I think I'm gonna know more when I get the brush in here so I can do the brush test. All right, so I'm gonna put my gloves on. So right off the bat, I'm not a fan of this brush. And as far as the brush test, you know, precision-wise, I'm not a fan. I feel like I don't have too much control with the way I'm able to scoop this up, and I think it's just a combination of the viscosity and the brush itself. Let's see how it does when we brush this on. Oh, I know, likey. I do not like this brush at all. I will say that the lightener is pretty easy to maneuver, like, or move into the hair. I think the brush itself is like pushing it off and not letting it seep in. For the sake of just making sure that this entire test is fair, I'm gonna go ahead and upgrade to my color brush. Okay, so I guess kind of the same experience. I feel like it's just kind of pushing off and it's not like staying where I want it to be. Take small sections and, I don't know, just do your hair with caution if you're gonna do it at home. Now that we got that one on, let's go ahead and let this one cook. Now that it's been 15 minutes, let's go ahead and see the swell factor out of this one. And definitely got a little bit of swelling with this one. It's very like airy and fluffy. So I'd be a little concerned with that one. And then the fragrance is definitely, I can smell it for sure. But let's go ahead and see what's going on in this foil. Like, honestly, it's like kind of like minimal swelling, like a little bit. I'm gonna go with like a 25%. So nothing crazy. Let's go and see what's inside. Dun dun dun. I don't know, this is looking really similar to a lot of the other ones we've been lifting, and this one looks a little bit more on the warmer side though, in my opinion. But let's go ahead and wash this one out. Now that this Power Powder Lightener by Blonde Brilliance is rinsed out, shampooed, I'm not really wowed by it. I was expecting something a lot lighter just considering that it's claiming 9 levels of lift. But I mean, it looks pretty light in comparison to this level 2 swatch. I do think it got a really great lift, but integrity wise, I don't know. This looks kind of like a little dehydrated and frayed to me at the very bottom. So I'm just kind of like not wowed by how it feels. But let's go ahead and size this up to the level finder. So right off the bat, this is definitely giving me orange vibes. So I know it's living in the 7 zone, but it's also not as light as the 8 and it's not quite there yet. This is definitely like at a 7.5, but it's definitely favoring that 7. So I'm gonna go with a 7.25 on this one. It's like almost past that. Now for the type of lift that we got with 35 volume, I honestly was expecting so much more lift out of this kit and it just didn't quite meet my expectations whatsoever. Overall, I think this is an okay lift and I also think this is kind of expensive for the type of result that we got. I think you can buy a less expensive lightener and volume developer duo and get a much better lift and integrity than this. As a professional, would I add this kit to my arsenal? 1000%. 1000% no. Like I mentioned before, anything that comes in a kit is a no-go for me. That lacks versatility in my mixing ratio and application and the strength. There's a number of reasons why I just wouldn't use a kit, and for that reason I'm gonna definitely say a no. And if you're a DIYer and need a lightning kit, would I use this? Probably not. I just think there's so much better value out of truly selecting what you really need and customize it to your specific needs, depending on the end result that you want to achieve. And this just doesn't cut it for me. Now, is this worth $18.69? I'm going to say hard no. Next up is a BW2 Plus Powder Lightener by Clairol Professional, and this retails for $5.99 for 1 ounce lightener. Now, this lightener claims to have up to 9 levels of lift, and this is an OG lightener. However, this is new for me to use the little plus, so I don't know if that means there's a reformulation or some bonder in it, but let's go ahead and see what this one is all about. Now, some key features and benefits for this bleach powder lightener is it's great for on or off scalp applications. It's great for color corrections, highlighting, and foiling. It's de-dusted with an extra strength powder lightener that lifts previously colored hair. It claims to give you up to 9 levels of lift, and it's vegan. Now, the way to mix this up is using 20 through 40 volume developer at a 1 to 1.5 or 1 to 2 mixing ratio. However, if you're gonna do on scalp applications, they recommend that you don't use anything higher than 20 volume. Absolutely no heat, and you can process this up to 50 minutes. So let's go ahead and open this up. This definitely is it's a white powder. Doesn't have a terrible smell. It's like, it's okay. It's kind of, and it's gonna sound weird, but kind of like minty. I don't know, let's go ahead and pour this out. I don't want to remove the entire contents just because I have this really small bottle here. And I am going to be mixing this up at a 1 to 2 mixing ratio. So I have 15 grams of powder in here, but let's go ahead and see how this feels. It's definitely kind of like airy powdered sugar. So we're gonna go ahead and put in 30 grams of our developer. Now, I have to say I like this developer, like how creamy and rich it feels. So let's go ahead and mix this up. So far this feels like really creamy and smooth. I really like this a lot. I can start to tell it's starting to thicken up a little bit. It's not quite there yet, but let's go ahead and do the brush test. So now that it's been like just a minute, it's definitely thickened up and I kind of like it. I feel like the precision's gonna be really nice and it looks really creamy and smooth. Let's go ahead and get this on. And just like I predicted, this kind of feels like it is a little thicker maybe, but I like it. It's going through the hair really nicely. I feel like we're gonna get really great saturation. I also like that it's white, so I can see the true lift as it's lifting. And I really think that I can push the hair and it's sticking exactly where I put it. And now we're just gonna let her do her thing and check back when it's time. Now that this has been 50 minutes, we're gonna go ahead and check a look at the swell factor, and not too bad. Like, I don't really see anything crazy as far as swell factor goes. I don't really feel like it puffed up that much, but it's definitely kind of like airy pockets going on. Now in the foil, different story here. Definitely feel a little puff action here, but let's take a little peek inside and see how well this BW2 did. Pretty good. I think it's looking pretty nice. I do like how this lightener feels so far. Kind of feels the same how I applied it. And it looks like an overall good lift. Let's go ahead and wash this one out. Now that the BW2 is shampooed and dried out, we got a pretty good lift. This one, however, claimed to have 9 levels of lift, and I don't think we quite got there. In comparison to this level 2 swatch, it does look pretty light, but this is definitely not 9 levels. Integrity-wise, it's looking really angry towards the bottom here. It's just very rough, kind of dry feeling. But let's go ahead and size this up to the level finder and see how much lift we truly got out of this one. Now, immediately off the bat, I'm seeing a lot of orange tones here, favoring that level 7. Definitely not an 8 and definitely not a 7. If I were to go with a 7.5, I still don't think it's quite like in the middle for me. I'm thinking this is like 7.25. So considering that we mixed this up with 20 volume developer, did the maximum processing time, and got this type of lift, it's pretty warm. So you're gonna want to use this lightener if you're wanting a really warm end result. Overall, I think this lightener did okay, but integrity wise, it does feel rather dry, and I definitely would expect something a little bit more smoother out of my lightener when I'm doing any type of highlights, on scalp retouch, whatever you're doing to the hair. You want to make sure that the integrity is there. As a professional, would I add this to my arsenal? I'm gonna say a hard no. Integrity is just not there for me. As a DIYer though, would I use this? I'm gonna say pass though, because I just feel like there's so many other better options based on the end results that we saw today. So is this lightener worth your buck? I'm gonna go with a no on this one. Now that we have these all lined up, we can see the lift, we can see the integrity, and just overall the end result that we achieved with these level 2 swatches. Now there were 3 lighteners that really stood out to me, and that was the Wella Color Charm, the generic brand, and the Ultra Blonde Powder Lightener from Age Brilliance. Now the reason why I chose these 3 lighteners was for 3 different reasons. We got a really great lift according to the claims, the integrity was really great, and the price point kind of matched the result that we got. Overall, I just feel like out of all of the lighteners in Sally's Beauty, I would probably pick one of these 3 that I just mentioned. Now, when it came to the maximum amount of lift, there was only one lightener out of all of these that really stood out and surpassed that level 7, and that was the Ultra Blonde Powder Lightener. Now, that one lifted to a solid level 8. We saw a little bit of 9s in there, but I just think that 8 is such a magic level, especially going from a level 2. So if you want to be a blonde and you're naturally a dark brunette, that could be a really great lightener for you. Now, when it comes to integrity, I just really felt the generic brand and the Wella Color Charm lightener just did a really good job. Overall, I felt like the hair was really smooth and lots of customization, and it met its claim of that 7 levels of lift. As a professional hairstylist, I think it's fair to say that I probably wouldn't use any of these lighteners just because there's so many more professional lighteners out there that give me better lift and better integrity than what I saw today. But to a DIYer, there is one that really stood out to me when it comes to integrity, lift, and customization and overall value, and that would be the Wella Color Charm. The thing that blew me away with this lightener is, first of all, the viscosity, the way it applied onto the hair, it felt really nice, and then after washing it out, it just feels so hydrated, really silky. We got a really smooth finish with this overall result, and I think it met its claim of giving us that 7 levels of lift, and that was with 20 volume. So I know if we used a higher level of developer, we probably would get even more lift out of this hair. So for that reason, I think this is a really strong contender here, and I just think that this is the one that I would go for if I were a DIYer. Now, the reason why I didn't choose the one with the highest lift is just the smell just was so offensive. I just couldn't get over it. It did a really great job of lifting and it did feel really great, but when it came to smell, it just was a hard pass for me. However, I can see why it was such a popular and highly rated lightener because it did give us a really high lift. Now, this was a controlled setting with the same level 2 swatches across the board. There are different variables that come into play like natural heat, the type of developer you use, and then also your mixing ratios make a huge difference in the type of end result that you can achieve. So take this with a grain of salt, do what you want with the results, and if there's a lightener on here that quite didn't meet the type of lift that you were expecting, keep using the lightener, and if you like it, and don't fix what's not broken. Now, there is one more thing that I would like to address because there's lots of information floating around the internet, and that is bleach is bleach. And after doing this test and all of the other tests and videos I've done before with the SalonCentric and Cosmoprof lighteners, I'm gonna have to highly disagree. Bleach is not bleach. They're all different. They have different makeups and different ingredients and different lifts, different viscosities, and they all just give different end results. So at the end of the day, you wanna make sure that you're using the right lightener for the type of lift that you need based on your hair type, the condition of your hair, and a bunch of other factors. Now, if you're surprised by any of these results, please let me know down below in the comments. And if there's a lightener that I didn't test in any of these videos, please let me know down below because I would love to test them in a future video. Or if there's a product recommendation that you would like me to try and test, let me know down below in the comments. Now, I really hoped you enjoyed this video, especially all you DIYers out there. And if you did, please give this video a like, subscribe, share this video with a friend. And like always, you can head on over to marillamanelli.com where you'll find more free education, sign up for my newsletter, and learn all the ways on how you can work with me. And super exciting news, I just launched Hairbnb University on June 27th. It's only going to be open for 2 weeks, and it's a place where confidence behind the chair starts right here. You can head on over to hairbnbuniversity.com and learn all of the ways on how you can enroll and what's inside and so much more. But if you have any questions, please let me know down below in the comments. And like always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.